Donttap Podcast.
Donttap Podcast.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
Donttap Podcast back. UFC New York, Big Apple. Here we go. We got some picks for you, some plays for you, some props for you, and yes, we have some dogs. Pretty dog heavy this week for the Donttap card. So first and foremost, we will start off with our biggest play of the week. You know how we do. We usually bring 3 plays to the table. It's only me again this week. I will be bringing, you're going to get about 4 or 5 spots that we're going to be looking at. But the first one that I touched right away, and you know, the line earlier in the week was sitting around minus 140. That's when we put the play out. But it hovered around minus 140 to minus 150, and now we're sitting at about minus 170 for Lupita Godinez. So Godinez coming in against Tabitha Ricci. Tabitha Ricci 9-1-0. Lupita 11-3-0. Really, it's a styles thing here. We have both girls that can strike. We have maybe Ricci, who, you know, people are trying to look at the Callum Walsh effect, and congratulations to him on his decision win yesterday. But if we're looking at it, I mean, tape on and her actually like striking and hitting mitts can look good, but how is that going to translate into the cage? And it hasn't translated perfectly into the cage so far. Right, so I think that Godinez hits harder. I think that if they strike, although you may see Ricci get some moments, I think Godinez is going to eventually press her back and land on her pretty heavy. But people are going to look at it as Ricci's jiu-jitsu, and that's what they're going to play out here, and that's why a lot of people are heavy on Ricci this week. I just think that if we have stylistically a matchup where we have wrestling versus jiu-jitsu in an MMA realm, I'm going to take wrestling. Because wrestling comes with strikes from the top. And I just don't see, like, Ricci catching Godinez in anything. So, you know, I just see Godinez likely riding on her on the cage for a little bit, taking her down at points, but I don't really see it going to be, it's not going to be like her picking her up and slamming her or anything crazy like that. It's going to be a very closely contested fight. But I just think that the wrestling edge is going to be there. I think there's just going to be a little bit more of a dominant position. It may even be a little bit lackluster, where Godinez is just sort of holding onto the hips, landing a big shot overhand on the cage. I just see Godinez winning this fight. And at minus 140 was when the line originally opened. Now minus 170. But I see if you like Ricci, that there's a level to this. She's definitely at the level. This is going to be a great fight, and I know that everybody is either on one side or the other. I just look at it from people could say it's a homer play again because she's Canadian or Mexican-Canadian. The reality of the fact is it's a stylistic thing for me. It's wrestling versus jiu-jitsu in the MMA realm where they can get hit. And what happens to jiu-jitsu practitioners when they get hit? Their belt color starts to shade away. So for me, give me Lupita Godinez all day long. Next play that we will look at on the card is my, I guess, sort of dog of the week, but I have a couple of those. So we will take a look at is Vyacheslav Borishev against Nazem Sadikov. I'm big on Naz. I'm big on, he's just one of the better, well-rounded guys coming up, I think. Wrestling pretty solid. Damaging with his strikes, like he's not just trying to go in there and just sort of point fight you. He's got an intent behind what he's doing. He's trying to set you up and trying to put you out of there. So definitely like the guy. The only thing is, man, with this fight, Vyacheslav, everybody's shitting on him right now, and the reason why I think he's the dog is because he gets taken down. He's been taken down a lot in his fights, right? So we look at. Let's take a look at these stats. Let's take a look at why the number is where it is. He's bounced around from plus 103 to plus 125 all week. And if we're looking at it, Borishev was taken down 9 times in his 2 fights ago, 3 fights ago, he was taken down by Diakese 11 times. So Davis takes him down 9 times. Diakese takes him down 11 times. But he got up every time. He scrambled and got up every time, and there was little control time in those fights. And he's just damaging when he lands. He's not a guy that's, is going to sit in there for 3 rounds and try to stay on the outside and land. He's going in a little bit more than Nas would, and he's going to end you. And if you step in, he's going to land either body work as he steps aside, or he's going to land a big counter hook. Like you're going out. Like he's just pure damage. The juxtaposition is he's the nicest guy in the world. That's why Uriah Faber gave him the name Slava Claus. But I'm telling you right now, this guy is not nice. Like he's not nice. He gets in the cage and he destroys souls. So Give me Slava Claus at plus 125 when we locked it in. I was even looking at potentially the KO because I think that's how it finishes. But I like Slava in this one. Give me Slava all day. So that is one of our dog plays of the week. Let's go Slava Claus. He sees you when you're sleeping because he put you there. So this will technically, I guess, be the dog of the week because of the plus money on it. But I just couldn't shy away from this one. And I know it's almost like I've just been following this line and following this woman into the grave with the three fight losing streak she's been on. So Jessica Andrade is someone I believed in. I mean, she was a murderer less than a year ago, right? A little over a year ago, she was an absolute murderer, killer, and everybody was singing her praises like she was the sure thing. She was anchoring your parlays. And then she comes into a fight. She takes a fight, I believe, on short notice against Erin Blanchfield, gets submitted, rear naked choke. Erin Blanchfield's a phenom. Then she comes in against Yan Xiaonan and comes in, I believe, another short notice, gets KO'd. Boom. And then against Tatiana Suarez, who's been out for a long time but is at a level. Let's be really serious here. Comes in with a guillotine choke. And really, she fought 5 times, I think. 5? Yeah, is that right? 5 times? She fought 4 times in the last year. And not too long before that, she got her submission win over Amanda Lemos. So it would have been like, she's been active as hell, and she's hungry for a paycheck, and everybody thinks that she's done. But I just think this is a styles thing. I think that if we look at Andrade against Dern, everybody's expecting the unicorn that came out last time and pressed against Angela Hill and just styled on her, and I don't see that. And it was more pressure with just some big, like, she's got power, don't get me wrong, but she just throws those rocks out on strings and hopes they land. I just think Andrade's going to counter her and catch her. I think that the power's there, the hands are way better on Andrade's side, and I think that Dern's going to try to scramble in with that shit, and Andrade's just not going to have any of it. And then what are we talking about with Dern's wrestling? It's not there. Right? And sure, it could have got better, but we just haven't seen that as a wrinkle at all, ever. It hasn't really been a thing. So maybe it's happening in the back of the rooms, and we haven't seen it play out in the cage. Don't want to be ignorant to that. But everybody's betting on the unicorn favorite that came out, which is the divorced Mackenzie Dern, right? Everybody makes the joke about it, but she's angry, dealing with some shit that she's going on. She came out real angry last fight. She even said herself and threw down. Great. Not happening this fight. Jessica Andrade plus 170 is a fucking steal in this matchup. Matchups make fights. I don't want to say this is a levels thing because Mackenzie Dern is at a high level. But this is a matchups thing. This is purely a matchups thing. And I just don't see that Dern's going to be able to get this to the ground and take Andrade out. Now, in a flip, if Dern just enters, takes her down quick and submits her, then Andrade's obviously done. Right? Then that everybody's narrative that she's just done is it. But she had some pretty high-level competition with matchups on short notice that she just went in, and I don't think she really put enough respect into those fights. So if we're looking at this one, she's got to know that if she doesn't win this one, it's probably it for her, right? She wants to keep that payday coming. She's got to win. She's got to win in emphatic fashion and go out there and even get a bonus. So give me Jessica Andrade. I think it's a steal right now in this matchup. I think the striking is just not even close. I think on the ground, we don't want to see her on her back, obviously. But I think that in certain situations, she should be just fine. Give me Jessica Andrade all day long. Plus 170. Bam, dog of the week. This isn't one that I will touch on for too long, but it's just a prop that I liked. I just think that Benoit Saint Denis and Matt Frevola is going to end inside the distance. And I think that everybody looked at Saint Denis and how, you know, he's durable and been in all these wars, but I just think that these two are going to throw down. It's going to be pretty nasty. And they're going to land, and someone's going out. And I just think that when you have Frevola, who's now on this sort of, I like the momentum swing that he's had for himself as well, too. Same with Saint Denis. But we have a guy who has so much power in his hands. I'm not even going to take the dog money. I want the KO. So give me the KO. Matt Frevola, plus 300. This is the one low on the ticket that if it doesn't hit, I'm okay. I'm all right. But then if nothing else on my ticket hits, but that one hits, that's just an anchor there. If it all hits, obviously beautiful. But for me, this is just more of a prop play at the bottom of the ticket. It's not one that's going to necessarily, we're looking at hitting. You want to sprinkle a little bit on it. You know, maybe depending on, I don't know how your unit size would be. But just sprinkle a little on this one. Matt Frevola, Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, you can look at it whatever way you want. I just think it's going to be violence. It's not going the distance, this one, obviously. So Frevola, I think, by KO is the best way to attack this, plus 300. There's not even, I mean, he wins by decision, then I'm just going to take my hat off and burn it. All right, next pick, we're going to take a look actually at the main event. So quickly, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka coming in 29-3-1. Alex Pereira coming in at 8-2-0. So with this one, it's just, for me, I'm going to tell you my path to victory for Pereira, I think. You know, everybody thinks he's going to come in very sound, structured, and run more of a fundamental game versus the wild Prochazka who's come in all crazy. I think that his leg kick is going to play, it's going to be pivotal in this fight. It's going to be drastically important for him to be able to utilize the leg kicks to actually keep Prochazka corralled and slowly funnel him down towards a counter. So what I mean is Prochazka moves all over the place, angles, he's changing all the time, and he's coming in from so many different sides. You want to try to minimize that space he's covering. So if you can start to chop away at that leg, but also start to move him one way and the other, both sides, if you can leg kick with both sides, and try to keep him sort of corralled in this little cage sort of in front of him. I know that's hard to say, but I mean, if you can slowly do that by just making him pay with those leg kicks. People don't like them. Nobody likes them. And it's not necessarily to say that it's going to put Prochazka out. He's going to take his leg right out, but it's going to make him think about them. He's going to make him not move around as much and keep him sort of in this area where he can then be caught. And what Alex is going to want to then do is just sort of catch him with a counter and or a simple combination. That's it. And that's all he's looking to do. Close that distance, but he's going to have to keep him sort of corralled. And I think to corral him, if that makes sense, with some leg kicks, it just makes complete sense to me. Obviously, the hook's always there to sort of keep you honest as well, too. So for me, Alex Pereira is the play. I just think that although Prochazka may have some ground advantage, I don't think it's enough for it to be like dominance anywhere. I don't think it's going to really play there. It's playing on the feet. These two are going to throw down. Prochazka's been dropped multiple times in multiple fights, and although Pereira, everybody's saying, oh, maybe the power isn't translated at this weight class, I just see him knocking him out. He's not getting up from this one. It's just not happening. Alex Pereira is going to be the new champ and new, plus 125 by KO, minus 120 money line. This is the main event play. It's not that this is necessarily on my ticket, but it's the main. We always have to pick a main event. This is how I'm looking at the main event. Alex Pereira, give me it. Now, this is a sneaky little parlay. I'm not even going to get into a deep breakdown on this one. It's just two guys I think that are going to win prospective fights, and it's a good plus money parlay. So if we look at it, so for the Donttap parlay this week, we're going to go with Jared Gordon and John Castaneda. So I just, for me, I think with Madsen, with everything he's had going on outside of the cage, having to move, not having a fight camp, and then also what we've seen in the cage, it hasn't really translated. He has a good jab, can keep people off with his jab. The wrestling's always a threat, and I think that's more why he's been given more respect on the feet. But it's not really coming together, I don't think. But there is that highest level of wrestling that if he always grabs you and holds you down, that's going to be it. But I don't know. I think that for Mark Madsen, I just, him coming in, I know he is the dog in this one, so people are sort of sprinkling it right now. But he didn't look good against Grant Dawson. Like it really didn't look good. And I know that Grant Dawson is also at this this high level now too, where he's just taking everybody down and ragdolling them. I know, coming off his KO loss to Bobby Green, but still has that level as well too. But I don't know, man. I just think Jared Gordon's going to be able to do enough to mix up enough with the striking, all the in-between stuff between the striking, closing the distance to the wrestling. I think it's just going to wear on Madsen. I think he does everything way better as far as he's a more well-rounded fighter. He's more of a mixed martial artist. And Madsen hasn't really put that together. He's a jab wrestler. That's what we've seen for the most part, and that's it. And I just don't see him winning that one. So I think that, Jared Gordon money line by itself right now, he's over minus 210 now. When I put the line out earlier, it was about minus 180, I think, when it was paired up with John Castaneda. Castaneda has been somebody that I backed quite a bit And, I just am a believer. I think another really well-rounded fighter, wrestling pretty solid, pretty sound. He's sort of let himself get out of fights where he's let guys sort of get ahead. And I don't know if it's in his own head or if it's more of a mental thing, but it doesn't really seem that there's been guys like, for instance, Willie Cat. I don't think that he has more talent than Castaneda. I think that Castaneda let him get ahead in the fight and then gave him way too much respect. So I think there may be a little bit of a mental thing going on. I don't want to overthink it or anything, but Castaneda he can play either an outside game and sort of play that matador with you, but he also can play an aggressive game where he wants to, force you to make a move, and then he can take you down as well too. So both guys are pretty evenly matched. I just think that Castaneda is just going to have the edge on the feet, be able to land a little bit more, be cleaner with his entries, cleaner with his exits. And then as far as the wrestling goes, I just think it's going to sort of cancel itself out. Both guys have decent wrestling, average roughly about 2 takedowns a fight. And really when it comes down to it, the takedown defense, I mean, both, if you're looking at it, what are they sitting at? Kung Ho Kang coming in with 70%, Castaneda 71%. So, I mean, really, they're really evenly matched. It's going to be a good fight. But I just think Castaneda, stylistically on the feet, is going to be the difference. It's going to play out on the feet mostly. And so for me, I like Castaneda on this side. So we go with the two gentlemen. We have Castaneda coming in with Jared Gordon. So Jared Gordon, John Castaneda, plus 153, Donttap parlay. So let's go down the card. I've already told you, Alex Pereira, main event. Next, I've gone back and forth on this one. But give me some Tommy Aspinall. So I'm going to go Tommy Aspinall on the co-main. Jessica Andrade, Matt Favola. I'm going to go Pat Sabatini, Steve Ercik, Lupita Godinez, Matus Rubeski, Vyacheslav Borshev, Jared Gordon, John Castaneda, Joshua Van, and Jamal Emmers. Those are my picks for UFC New York. Now, we have my plays. They are pretty well locked in. I know the lines. I want to try to get the podcast out earlier, so then that way when I put out lines, if you're not following me on Instagram or social media, you're able to get the lines out, or at least close to what I've talked about. But until we do that, I will do my best to try to get you what I can on Twitter, Instagram, and or anything else. So for the Donttap podcast, we out.